Hi, I'm Karen McCarthy and it's time to Karen-ize. Today's Friday when we do crafting. And before I get started, I do want to say please bear with me as I try to hone my skills. I am not a professional and I'm using a new camera and a camera stand today. I have challenges with trying to get the same kind of features that I had on my iPhone, but my iPhone had that black box around the video, which I didn't even know was going on until one of my followers told me. So thank you for that. So I've eliminated that problem, but now I have to figure out how to get this camera and the angles in the close-up and stay in frame. I'm terrible at that, but I will get it. So anyway, thanks to my subscribers who have stuck with me through this whole learning curve, and I sure appreciate what you are doing to help me out. So today we have some Dollar Tree finds and some garage sale finds that I'm just kind of jazzing up a little. Sometimes they're just a little too stark, a little too white, and I'm just going to show you real quick and easy ways to take care of that. So let's get started. So this is the first Dollar Tree sign that we are going to jazz up. I love it. It's so cute, but it's just a little too stark. And I love their mason jar surfaces for the different seasons, but I just like to just jazz them up just a little bit, make them look just a little more homemade by just adding a little embellishment. I love this little dual pumpkin design, but again, it just needs just a little something so that to me it looks more finished. All right, so we're going to use Waverly Antiquing Wax and a foam brush. Or a foam, I guess it's a brush, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to pour out a little bit of the antiquing wax. So I have a paper towel there because we use that to wipe off any excess. So I'm going to shake it up and then just pour a little out into my little paint tray. And I had to cut something out because I had a boo-boo happen. So anyway, things happen. I'm going to put the lid on tightly after I wipe off any excess so it doesn't get glued on. Then I'm going to take my brush, dip it in the antiquing wax and just blot it a little bit. And then I'm just going to just kind of tap it around the edges all the way around. And I'm sorry that part of this is out of camera frame. I'm still trying to get that fine-tuned, I guess you would say. Just going all the way around it. I do go around the other pumpkin, but I just didn't show that part. It doesn't show up quite as much, but it shows up nice. And after I'm done, when the brush is almost dry, I just kind of stroke it gently across the surface just to give it a little more of an aged look and a little bit more distressed looking. I like things to look distressed. Okay, so now we're going to do the little rolling pin. And we're going to do the same thing to it. So I'm just blotting a little bit. And again, I'm out of camera frame, but you can kind of see what I'm doing. You just can't see the whole thing. Then I realized I was out of camera frame, so I moved it over. And I did all the way around. Did a little bit on the handles just so that they weren't so stark looking. And at one point, I grabbed the handle while it's still wet. And then I just dab a little bit on just to kind of break up the whiteness there. Tip it up, and I'm going to do all of the edges because it is going to be sitting on a shelf or something and it might be visible, so just making it look very finished. And there's where I grabbed the handle. I have to go back and blot it again. Yep, that's me. If you can do it, I will do it. I thought it turned out really cute. Now this is something I got at a garage sale, and it's really hard to get in frame, and that's where I've got to kind of fine-tune this camera is so I can get it where I can get a larger thing in frame. But I love the design. I love the roses. I'm going to put it out on our front porch, but it's just a little too stark. And I wanted it to look grungy and aged to be out on the porch. So I'm just dabbing all over the place. And I'm only showing the top of it. I'm not showing the sides and all that. I just dab all over the place. And then I go back with a paper towel and I just kind of blot it till I get the effect that I want. I did a little bit more on the flowers than I did everywhere else. I just kind of put it on the white areas just so they weren't quite so bright white. And then a little bit more on the flowers so that it had that antiquing kind of look. I really like how it turned out, and I can hardly wait to show you the finished picture. But right now I'm just dab, dab, dabbing. And the good thing with this antiquing wax is if you don't like it, you can just wipe it off. If it hasn't dried yet, you can just wipe it off. You can blot it and soften the effect. You can totally wipe it off. It's very, very forgiving and easy to work with as long as you work quickly. So I didn't realize I had this going for so long. I'm kind of running out of things to say. So tell me where you're from, and I always love to hear where my videos are reaching and how long you've been watching, what kind of crafts you like to do, all that kind of stuff. Love to hear that. Okay, this next thing is a find that I got at Goodwill, and I love it the way it is, except for one thing. One end is really bright and colorful, but the other end, it's got a little curly-Q thing on it, but you can hardly see it. It doesn't really show up. Sorry for the change there. I turned on a light and I thought it was making it better, but it actually didn't. I have a chalk marker and I'm just going to trace over those curly-Qs to make them stand out a little bit. I decided after I was doing this one that I didn't like this chalk marker. It was a little bit too thick. So I ended up using a chalk marker from Chalk Couture, and you'll see the finished effect. It was a different color, but it definitely showed up a lot better and was easier to get to look really nice. This is much easier to trace with these markers than to try to paint those lines with a paintbrush. Now I've got a little cream that I have that's kind of it looks like gold, and it's just a cream. I think it's Deco Art, and I'm just putting it around the edges of those hearts just to make them stand out a little bit. And this is actually before I finish the curly-Qs with the Chalk Couture marker, so you can still see that those curly-Qs are dark. And I just keep going over and over that until I get the effect that I like. You have to be kind of careful, because right there I got some and I tried to wipe it off. It doesn't really come off, so I just kind of made it look like I did it on purpose. And sorry there that I had to go to that angle, but it kind of cut the camera view and the light off. I'm just using I can't remember what they're called. They're like Q-tip, but they're not quite a Q-tip, but I can't remember what they are. But you could use a Q-tip, you could use a paintbrush, you could even use your finger. I just don't like to get that all over my fingers. So I'm going to do that on the second heart off camera. And there's a picture of the chalk marker really, really fast. And so now that end and this end both kind of stand out a little bit more. So I really like the finished effect much better than before. And I realized that I had been completely out of camera range when I was doing this one. So I just did the same thing that I did with everything else. Took that antiquing wax and pounced it around the edges. And then I love the metal at the top, but I don't like it to be shiny. So I just really pounced on it until I got the effect that I liked. And that is how easy it is just to add a little personal touch to these. Oh, I'm showing you how I went over the surface. Make sure that your brush is almost completely